I tell you what I always enjoy in the world of professional wrestling, a return. I mean, I don't know why I get so excited, but you give me a decently thought out comeback and I turn into a 12-year-old boy again, just running around my house like, I can't believe so-and-so is back. We're gonna talk about it. But before we talk about that, I need to talk to you. Because of all the shows for this week's Retro Ups and Downs, you voted for Survivor Series 1997, the Montreal Screwjob. What else are we? It's all been set. Unless Bret Hart comes on here and starts talking about it, I don't know what you want me to do. But look, this is proof, right? This is proof. If you vote for it and then it gets in the poll and you vote for it again, we will do whatever the hell you want to do. Maybe I'll just make some stuff up like it was all the fault of Doink the Clown. But we'll worry about that for tomorrow, because right now we're going to take this, the finger of power, and we're going to give the good bits up and the bad bits are down for the most recent episode of All Elite Wrestling's Dynamite. Dynamite has a new opening. It's the same song, but sometimes if I don't mention these things, the internet just melts down. So it's fun, it's got a load of clips, some are from Full Gear. You still got the head in the manager, or however the song goes. It's good. When we were done with that, we were also greeted by Team Taz and Ricky Starks, who was wearing a shirt but basically had one button done up. And I was like, Ricky, if you're gonna do it, just expose that torso and show it to the world. That is not why they were out here, though. They weren't going to talk about this, and instead Team Taz wanted to get some business done. Because one, Brian Cage was about to have a match, but also two, as Taz did spy Darby Allin in the crowd doing his whole Sting thing, he was like, Darby, I know you're the new TNT champion, you better keep an eye on that, but do not get involved in this match, and also tell your good friend Cody Rhodes not to get involved either. Imagine Darby just whipped out a phone and called him and gone, yeah, Cody, I don't think you should come out right now. Taz, he ain't very pleased. His basic point was don't mess with Taz, and I was like, it's so easy to mess with Taz. You just go up to him and go, I don't like the colour orange, I prefer green. And he gets so upset because he loves it. We then moved into Cage's match and he was taking on Matt Sydal, and I got excited right away because I always love big man versus little man in pro wrestling. It just always works. That's why it's get it up. Because at first Brian was beating this man to a pulp as well, but then he got a little bit too cocky, like he, don't know, just done a 500-pound deadlift, and that's where Matt Sydal turned on his I'm gonna go real fast and do all of my agile moves. And he did, including at one point climbing to the top rope and giving Brian Cage a Meteora as he was standing on the ramp. And the reason I'm saying it like this is not because it had some tremendous impact, but Matt Sydal's knees went right into the floor. It made me go ow. There was also a cool bit where Matt reversed the drill claw into a cradle, but then unfortunately he got a little carried away. He jumped off the top rope once more. Brian Cage caught him, hit the drill claw for real, and he got the 1, 2, 3. That looked very impressive. Starks then got on the microphone with his half buttoned up shirt and basically said that he's going after the TNT title and that he and Brian Cage finally are being ranked and the revolution is coming. Maybe it is. Cody was then here, and nobody called this. Came out with his full entrance, which I always enjoy, by the way, and I think we should give more of these over-the-top entrances to more wrestlers, because it just makes you feel like a superstar, and told us in no uncertain terms he's done with Darby Allin, he'll get back to it later, but for now he wants to return to another old opponent, none other than Maxwell Jacob Friedman. From nowhere though, there was just some random woman in the ring behind him, and when she got on the microphone, she started making a lot of, well, jibes and double entendres about the size of Cody Rhodes' penis. I'm not joking. Turns out her name was Jade Cargill, or the Total Package as she dubbed herself, and somewhere Lex Luger was like, hey, wait a minute, what the hell is going on? And yeah, she was all like, Cody, you think you're a giant killer, but there's nothing giant about you. And once again, it was a reference to his dick. And I would admit I was intrigued to see where this was going, because I was like, well, I guess they got to reveal some kind of giant, otherwise why else would you keep saying that word? And then that kind of did happen, because as it turns out, she is representing none other than the Great Khali. No, she's not. Imagine the Great Khali on Dynamite. That would be the funniest thing ever. It's kind of even stranger though, because it is Shaquille O'Neal. And if you called that in 2020, a lot of money is coming to your doorstep. Brandy Rose eventually arrived to shout at Jade, and that was great because she was fire on the mic. She genuinely sounded pissed off. And then all of a sudden, Brian Cage was here as well as Team Taz, and they were beating the hell out of Cody Rhodes. And then Darby Allin tried to make the save, he wasn't able to. So Will Hobbs once more came out with a chair. And next week on Dynamite, we are going to do that 6-man tag or some form of tag team match. And I was a little bit like, again, dog chasing my tail, like, what is going on? I can't keep up. And on the subject of Shaq, I get it. You may not want to see it, but he is a mainstream star, and he is going to get AEW mainstream attention. And when you're trying to build a company, that's what you've got to do. WWE has been using outside celebrities since, like, the T-Rex was roaming the earth. In fact, if that was true, they would have got the T-Rex in, and he would have had a match against Kane, and Kane would have lost, because Kane always seemed to lose those kind of matches. I just think after everything that happened with Mike Tyson and how random this was, it has left a lot of fans on their hands and their shoulder pondering how this came about and what exactly we're going to do. And I tell you this, if you do Cody versus Shaq on a pay-per-view, I'd pay the money, but I do appreciate that the execution left you a little bit more dumbfounded than would have been appreciated, and therefore it's getting it down. And talking of random things just happening, we then learned that the big, long-awaited world title match between Kenny Omega and Jon Moxley is gonna happen on the first Dynamite in December. I mean, oodalally. Came to light as Alex Marvez interviewed Jon Moxley, who said he has now totally embraced being the AEW World Champion because he understands that it represents every single fan in the world. That's me. Jon Moxley represents me. I finally have a new friend. He went on to say that he has beaten Omega before, but he understands how hard it is going to be to beat him again. And you can just feel the build starting here. And I don't care, man. It's got me all revved up. Imagine Kenny Omega wins the belt on a Dynamite. That will be absolutely badass. The fun was then back with our bunkhouse match, which very sadly isn't a fight to see who gets the top bunk in somebody's bedroom. Vince Russo probably would have done that back in the day. Either way, is getting it up. It was the Natural Nightmares versus the Butcher and the Blade, and what I always enjoy about these kind of stipulations is that while in an ordinary matchup you will wear fighting clothes like pants, here you must come out in jeans. I don't even know why. That's just what you do. Like, well, it's gonna be a rough and tumble scrap. I better put on my jorts. There was no DQ, so things got crazy pretty quickly. I think we saw a final reckoning through a chair, and then the bunny was on the outside just giving weapons to everybody, and guitars and kendo sticks were being smashed all over the place. Plus, before this was done, I think everybody was bleeding. Blood was just pouring everywhere, and probably from the skies, Dusty Rhodes was looking down going, haha, that's my boy. Dusty was also handcuffed to the ropes at one point, and a fire extinguisher was being blasted into somebody's face, and we saw a bulldog through a part of the Dynamite set, like it had clearly been set up, but I don't care, man. When you do those things, you've got to appreciate it for what it is. When they went through it, it went poof, and there was a bunch of smoke. It was quite the visual. Thankfully, however, QT Marshall did get some revenge against Ali/the Bunny. That was the whole purpose of this match. So after he had done an incredible elbow drop off the top of a ladder onto the Blade, he also punched that guy right in the face. He went smashing into Bunny, who was on the apron. She went through a table. Deep down, you could just say to yourself, that's right, if somebody screws you over, they will always get theirs. It allowed Dustin to hit Blade with a cowbell and then QT to follow up with a cutter, and they got the 1, 2, 3. And this was just a fun little thing to have on Dynamite, where also the good guys won. And that was no bad thing. It left you feeling nice and warm and fuzzy in your tum-tum, and that's always good. It's like on a Sunday, you wake up, you see the sun, you have a hot chocolate, and then realize, why the hell am I having hot chocolate at 8:30 a.m? But you can, because, well, you're in control of your own actions. Matt Hardy then put over Sammy Guevara, which made lots of sense. He was on the Hardy compound and he just said, look, I respect you, we've had all these wars, but you're gonna be a major star in the future, and he's probably right. Also kind of made me pleased, because this feud is now done. It's so hard to watch. It's like you're their dads. You just live in fear that somebody's gonna get hurt, because my word, did a lot of people get hurt. Next up we have, oh my days, it's that 66666 boo thing again. It's been going on for weeks now. I'm reading clearly and I'm figuring this out.
Win a trip to the premiere of The Mummy Returns? Yes, please. This will be them now. Cleary's Pet Crematorium, you kill him, we grill him.
Yeah, look, it's Miller who keeps messing with the ups and downs videos.
Messing with... Is this that 666 boo thing? It's been in all the NXT videos as well. It's driving me mad. Who's doing it?
Well, I don't know. That's why I rang you.
Ivory. They don't make them like you anymore.
I suppose I'll keep an eye on it. In what surely has to be considered a major angle too, MJF and Wardlow then got inducted into the Inner Circle, and Chris Jericho was out here to kick things off. He had a podium and all the bells and whistles, and while the rest of his group joined him, Sammy Guevara was nowhere to be seen, and this kind of worried Chris a little bit, but he just got on with proceedings. Either way, it's good enough. MJF was then on the microphone ready to give his big speech, and the man is such a goof in the best possible way, because not only did he say it was such a hard start for him after his father only gave him a $1 million loan, when he started to recite his poem that he had written for proceedings, it was quite clearly just a bunch of Drake lyrics. I thought this was tremendous, especially because Ortiz, he was so mad at this, you don't rip off Drake. It required Le Champion to get involved in this to calm everybody down and let them know, look, this is the new version of the Inner Circle. It's going to be the best. If you keep yelling at me, I'm going to kick everybody's ass. And then Maxwell jumped in and went, hey, we're not just celebrating the fact that I'm joining the Inner Circle. It was also Chris Jericho's 50th birthday recently. And then confetti came from the sky and everyone, well, they were trying to have a good time, but you could cut the tension with a knife. Maxwell then revealed that there was one more big surprise, because he had bought every single one of them a ticket to Vegas next week so they can have a really good time, and this is just going exactly where it needs to go. And of course it should end with Jericho being kicked out of the group and he turns babyface, and then Maxwell becomes the biggest heel in the company. I know that's obvious, but sometimes being obvious is alright. Also, at one point when MJF was reciting Drake lines, you saw Chris Jericho crack a smile. I love little things like that. All of this did exactly what it needed to do. Alex Marvez was then terrified because he had to interview the Young Bucks. And I don't blame him, because obviously last time he did this, he just got kicked right in the face. But now Matt and Nick Jackson have calmed down and they're over the moon to be the brand new tag team champions. But also next week, they are going to have a match against Top Flight, a young up-and-coming tag team that you may have seen on AEW Dark. And I was like, a proud parent. I was like, isn't that nice? They have made it to the top of the ladder, and instantly they're gonna give something back. Maybe Top Flight are gonna become a major tag team in AEW, and this ain't a bad way to kick things off. Shawn Spears then defeated Scorpio Sky, and I was a little bit like, man, it's a shame more of this feud didn't happen on Dynamite, because a lot happened on Dark, but however, the commentators did fill you in, and they had a pretty decent match. Sky is just excellent and is going to be a top guy down the line, and this latest incarnation of Shawn Spears is his best character yet. Also, at one point, Scorpio Sky jumped off the steel stairs and Spears caught him flush right in the face with a kick. I'm amazed it didn't break his skull. There was an awesome reversal when Scorpio Sky went for his TKO, but Shawn Spears then got that into a cradle, but then Sky was back on his feet and he locked in the sharpshooter. And of course there was shenanigans at the end, because that Dick Tully Blanchard was on the outside. I mean, you always knew he was going to do something. That's what he does. So he did slip that magic glove thingamajig to Shawn Spears, who punched Scorpio Sky right in the face, because the referee at the time was looking at Tully going, Tully, I know you're up to something. You're not going to get me. Yeah, good work, ref. And it means that, yeah, Shawn Spears won, but given that there was Gaga, I guess they're going to have another match. It kind of made sense that you did have to feature the glove at some point, though, because that thing had its own vignette at one point. Remember, they were in the limo and they're like, oh my gosh, the glove, the magical glove. So all of this kind of ticked the boxes, and hopefully Scorpio Sky eventually wins, and it goes on to some major things. Kenny Omega then continued to troll people. I think I love that man. He was meant to be having a sit-down interview with Dasha Gonzalez, but he was nowhere to be seen. So thankfully, Alex Marvez, who was on fire this evening, man, he did everything. He caught Kenny Omega running away, so he stuck a microphone in his face like, what are you doing, Ken? Our fans would like a word. Kenny did do that, and he kept it nice and simple and said he knows that everybody wants him to be the same guy that he was in New Japan, and it wasn't that he hasn't been that person, he has just chosen not to be, but now that the ship is hitting the fan, oh man, the cleaner's coming back. It was also important that people do note that actually him and Jon Moxley officially have never had a match, because the one before was unsanctioned, so this time not only is he going to win, he is going to become the brand new world champion, and he puts all of that on his shoulders. Just to drop a little doozy and maybe even a potential cliffhanger, he said, look, Al, I've got to go. I've got to catch my flight. So now everyone is like, well, where the hell is Kenny Omega going? Obviously, the internet is now awash with rumors that, oh, he's going back to New Japan. That's what he's hinting at. But we don't know that. Nobody has a clue. Maybe he really wanted a bagel, so he's flying to New York. I would understand that. Bagels are so good, I would put in the same kind of effort. It was a good way to keep you thinking, though, especially to see what's going to happen next week. I think the evolution of this character is working wonders. Man, just Kenny Omega right now, he is well and truly smashing it. Ty Conte then defeated Red Velvet Cake, and it was fine. Brandy was in Red Velvet's corner, but Anna Jay was in Conti's, and that was much more interesting because, of course, they got this whole thing going on with the Dark Order. And is she going to join? Is she not going to join? Is she a good guy or is she a bad guy? Well, here we got a little bit more information about just that. Because Jay threw a chair in at one point and was telling Ty to use it, but she didn't know what to do and instead kicked it out of the ring because right now she's still on the light side. Now, the interesting thing about that is you were going to presume that, oh no, she was going to lose because she did do that, but she didn't. And instead she hit Red Velvet Cake right in the face with a knee and got the 1, 2, 3, and then you could see on Anna Jay's face, she was like, man, this moron, this imbecile, why isn't she doing what I said? So maybe she's going to corrupt her mind? I don't know, but either way, she did get the win. Marvez then continued to earn his paycheck as he was interviewing the Inner Circle when Sammy Guevara finally arrived and was like, look, I only got one email and it told me to go to the beach. I went to the beach and nobody was here. And I know it was you, MJF. You're trying to screw me over. Max was all like, look, no. Did everybody else get the second email? And they're like, yeah, we did, Max, we did. He goes, Sammy, clearly something bad has happened. Here's your ticket to Vegas. Let's just go have a good time. But you could just see on MJF's face, he had done this on purpose and it wasn't like he was trying to hide it. However, I still say that these two are in cahoots and they are plotting to overthrow the champion. And then you know what time it is. Does Eddie Kingston this week know if wrestling is a work? We'll bring down my device, blub, 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 just put in all the information from today. Give it a minute, give it a minute. No, he has absolutely no clue. He thinks it's real. Because he was cutting a promo though, and honestly said that even though he did quit at Full Gear, he's not done with any of this, and one day he will be the world champion. And given that we're about to see Penta versus Phoenix, well, you can all thank him. And as ever, every single word that he said was 100% believable. And as for that match, you already know. I think it's impossible for it to be bad, is getting it up. There was so much here too, as Kingston was on commentary and was kind of favouring Penta over Phoenix. So straight away, like, well, what's going on there? And then Penta's gone full on bad guy because he was ripping his own brother's mask, and you just don't do that. Not only is it massively disrespectful, but as Excalibur on commentary told us, if that was happening in Mexico, it would be a DQ, or this is a massive deal, somebody stop the damn match. Phoenix's face was exposed after that as well, and I was left shocked, I tell you, shocked. So all of this must have worked on me. I kind of felt like I'd been a victim of tax fraud. So when Phoenix then tried to do the same to Penta, I was like, well, please, everybody, just calm down. We have to leave the sanctity of the masked intact. So that's a round of applause right there. Throughout all of this as well, it was kind of being hinted that Eddie Kingston has driven a wedge between these two. And I ain't gonna lie, I don't think that happened at all. But hey ho, I guess that's the direction we're going in. You could see Penta's face after this, and all it did was like unleash some kind of a beast, because not only did he hit a package pile driver onto Phoenix on the apron, which made me just make crazy noise, it looked so violent, he then hit a destroyer on the outside, threw him back in the ring, hit another package pile driver, and finally beat his brother. And I was a bit like, well, thank goodness for that, otherwise he was gonna die. I saw some people online going, well, this wasn't as good as their other matches, and I was like, are you flipping kidding me? Who even cares? Why do we have to compare everything to everything else? So you get an apple, you go, well, it wasn't as good as the apple I ate yesterday, even though I'm enjoying this current apple. Penta and Phoenix are tremendous. Imagine you could do anything that they could do, and then someone went, well, it wasn't as good as what you did last time. You would throw up in their face. This was still absolutely great. And there was no way that this is how the first Dynamite after Full Gear was going to end. There was always going to be some kind of shock and surprise, especially because all week long Tony Khan and social media are going, hey, don't worry, we're going to have shocks and surprises. And we did. Kingston got on the mic, and not only did he congratulate Penta, but he kicked Phoenix out the ring and then said, don't worry about that guy, you don't need the dead weight. So that family is well and truly over. Imagine your own mum did that. That would be like you getting home going, have a little bit of a cough, and your mum going, leave the house. You're like, why do I have to leave the house? Because you got a cold, and no one in my family gets a cold. Eddie Kingston is brutal. At that moment, though, is when the ship really got going well and truly, because after his promo last week, and of course we should have expected this, why else do you think we had that promo to begin with? Pac finally made his return to Dynamite. The bastard is back. And much like previously, he really pissed off. He said that Eddie Kingston had done it now, he'd gone and made a big mistake, and then he made a beeline for the ring, and if 10,422 referees hadn't come out to stop them, he was gonna kick the crap out of them. So you surely have to assume now that we are gonna get a feud where it's Pac and Phoenix taking on Eddie Kingston and Penta, and that, my friends, is flipping ridiculous. We also learned that next week Pac's gonna be back in action, taking on the Blade, and I burst out laughing because poor Blade. He would have been backstage nursing his wound with all the blood coming out of his head going, man, I can't believe we lost. And over the tannoy he hears, he has to take on Pac. That guy ain't having a very good November. Yet again, some people have decided that the Pac return wasn't a big enough of a deal, and I honestly don't know what you want. We have been desperate for this for 7 months, and we finally got it. Sit down and shut your ass. It also meant that on this week's episode of Dynamite, we did start a lot of new storylines and set a light to a lot of new fires, because Cody and Shaq is going to be bizarre, Kenny Omega and Jon Moxley, and of course Pac having his big old comeback. I had a very fun time, and for that reason, is getting it up. Now, don't forget to leave a comment below and let us know what you thought about last night's episode of Dynamite. Like the video, share the video, and subscribe. Head over to WhatCulture.com where you can read yourself some articles, follow WhatCulture on Twitter, WhatCulture WWE, and watch more videos here on WhatCulture Wrestling. My name is Simon from WhatCulture. Thank you as always. And look, while I do appreciate you doing everything with retro ups and downs, yes, tomorrow we will do it for the Montreal Screwjob. You have got to be kidding me.